She placed the plate in front of him, knowing he had nothing to pay with. No one spoke when she was fired, not until 4 men walked in. Each one said, "You don't know her." But we do. The spoon hit the floor with a sharp, metallic ping. Rachel bent down to retrieve it before the sound had stopped ringing. Her knees creaked softly as she crouched, the wet rag still clutched in one hand. From under the booth, she saw the toddler's feet swinging back and forth and his mother scrolling through her phone, oblivious. She wiped the spoon quickly on her apron and set it back beside the high chair. The mother didn't say thank you. From the corner of the diner, Frank Murray sat like always, alone, near the window, his hat resting beside a glass of water. No food in front of him. Rachel moved quietly, slid a plate onto the table. Eggs, toast. The edges of the toast were browned just the way he liked. He didn't look up right away, just stared at the food, then gave a slow, almost imperceptible nod. Rachel didn't say a word. She turned away before anyone noticed. "Again?" came a whisper behind her. Linda, the morning waitress with stiff blonde hair and a bitter tongue, stood with one hand on her hip. Rachel didn't stop wiping the counter. "He's not a bum. He's a vet." Linda sniffed. To tell that to Stanwyck when he counts inventory. She kept moving. The morning rush was thinning. Outside, the sky had just begun to lose that early gray. Inside, sunlight slanted in through the dusty blinds, painting yellow stripes across the linoleum. The tile floor clacked under the weight of a man's shoes. Stanwyck, manager by title, judge by attitude. He didn't stop walking as he passed Rachel. "You're moving too slow," he muttered. Rachel's mouth opened, then closed. Her hands kept scrubbing. In the kitchen, behind the swinging door, Enrique, the cook, gave her a slight nod. He'd seen it all, said little, but his eyes always followed the quiet ones. A man in a blazer complained his coffee was cold, slammed the mug down. Some splashed on the table. "Ma'am," he barked, "you want to check your job description?" Rachel brought a fresh cup and a half smile. "Sorry about that." Stanwyck was there before she turned. "That's coming out of your tips," he said, loud enough for the whole booth to hear. She nodded, took the rag, wiped. At Frank's table, the food was already half gone. He cut each piece of egg into perfect squares, deliberate, like it mattered. Rachel watched from a distance, cleaning a salt shaker with unusual care. He never rushed. His hands didn't shake. There was a kind of quiet in him that had nothing to do with silence. "You serve?" The question slipped out as she leaned to gather empty plates nearby. Frank didn't pause. "They just called it war back then," he said. And that was it. A child pointed at her. "Mommy, she's the nice one." The mother tugged the child's arm. "Eat your pancakes." Rachel didn't smile. She didn't need to. The kid had seen it. That was enough. By evening, the place smelled of fryer oil and too much bleach. Frank was still there. She brought him another plate. Soup, this time. He didn't ask. She didn't explain. This time, Stanwyck was watching. He stood by the register, arms crossed, face unreadable. Rachel felt it, but didn't stop. Frank glanced up once, saw Stanwyck, then back at his bowl. No one said anything. When the door chimed behind her, she jumped a little. Just another couple leaving. No one important. No one ever was. She went back to wiping the table near the window, the rag warm and damp in her hand. The glass caught the last of the sunlight, fading now. Across from her, Frank drank his soup, like a man remembering how. Later, When the chairs were turned and the lights dimmed, Stanwyck locked the till with a hard snap. Rachel counted napkins. Her hands were tired. "Try not to feed the whole street tomorrow," Linda said as she passed. Rachel just folded the napkins tighter. She didn't sleep much that night. A siren passed her building sometime after 2. The neighbor's dog barked. She stared at the ceiling, the noise of the diner still buzzing behind her eyes. In the morning, she showed up at 6 on the dot. No one said good morning. She took her rag, tied her apron, and began again. By the time Frank walked in, the coffee was already bitter on the burner. She poured him water without looking. The omelet appeared 5 minutes later. He didn't thank her, just placed one hand lightly on the table. A kind of signal. She understood it. That afternoon, she felt something crack, just a little. A tray of glasses clinked hard as she set them down. Stanwyck's voice came across the room like a lash. "I said, no more charity cases." She froze. He was standing near the coffee machine staring at her, eyes flaring. Other customers turned. A spoon stopped mid-stir. "You feeding bums out of our pocket now?" The room went still. Rachel didn't move. She didn't speak. Her eyes met his. Not sharp, not defiant. Just there, unblinking. Stanwyck waited for her to speak. She didn't. He scoffed and turned. "One more time and you're out." The kitchen door swung once. Enrique stood still, his ladle mid-air. Frank finished the last bite of his food. Then he stood, slowly, straightened his jacket, tipped his head, just slightly, in Rachel's direction. Then left. Didn't look back. The door closed behind him with the softest chime. Rachel stood, one hand still on the tray. Her other hand, clenched into the rag, was shaking. She kept wiping. The floor squeaked somewhere behind her. A child's sneakers. It was the little girl again. She walked up to Rachel and held something out, a napkin, folded in half. "There's a heart on it," she said. "I drew it for you." Rachel crouched, took it with both hands, said nothing. The girl's mother called her sharply. The child ran off. Stanwyck returned 5 minutes later with his clipboard. Didn't even look at her. Just said, "Office now." The fluorescent light buzzed in the back room. The coffee machine hissed. He didn't wait long. "You're done. That's it. Apron off. Go." Rachel nodded. Untied the apron, folded it, laid it gently on the chair. No one in the front moved. Not Linda, not the customers, not Enrique, who leaned just slightly from the kitchen, eyes low. Rachel left without speaking. The bell above the door made the softest sound she'd ever heard. Outside, the air was cooler than she expected. The sidewalk empty. She pulled out her phone. Scrolled. "Frank." She pressed call. The line clicked. Then a voice. "This number is no longer in service." She stood still. Wind brushed past her. A bus growled nearby. Someone laughed across the street. Back inside, Enrique dropped his ladle into the sink. "Not cooking today," he said to no one in particular. Linda blinked. "What?" He walked out. Didn't look at Stanwyck. Didn't look back. And then the door chimed again. 4 men walked in. 2 wore jeans and jackets. 1 wore full marine dress blues. They didn't ask to be seated. They walked, quiet, heavy steps, straight to Frank's usual table, the one by the window. They sat, faces unreadable. Stanwyck opened his mouth, stopped. One of them turned his head slightly, looked at the room. She didn't just feed him, he said. She reminded him he was still human. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. Another added, "That man saved my life. You threw out the only one who treated him like he mattered." Rachel, standing just outside the window, saw the faces inside change. No one moved. No one drank. Even the coffee went cold. Stanwyck opened his mouth again, but no sound came out. The diner sat in silence. Not the soft kind, the kind that comes before something happens. The video wasn't meant to be anything, just a teenager filming with his phone while pretending to stir cream into his coffee. But by afternoon, it was everywhere. The clip, grainy, shaky, showed Rachel, standing still in the middle of the diner, eyes locked on Stanwyck, 4 men sitting in Frank's booth like they owned it. No one eating, no one speaking. The phone call came just before dinner rush. Stanwyck took it in the back office. The voice on the other end was smooth, local news bright. "We'd love to feature your cafe, community focus, veteran support, quick spot, airs at 6. He said yes before thinking, then panicked. In the kitchen, Enrique chopped onions without looking. Each slice landed with the same clean rhythm. His station gleamed. A fresh sign had appeared over the prep table. Saturday breakfast. Veterans eat free. No one asked permission. No one needed to. Frank came back that evening. No fuss, no speech. He walked in slowly, a little stiffer than the day before, and sat at the same table. Enrique slid a bowl of chili through the pass window without being asked. Rachel wasn't there. Not yet. But the 4 Marines were. One of them stood up when Frank entered. Not a full salute, just a hand to the chest, 2 fingers to the brim of an invisible hat. Frank returned the gesture. Sat down. Started eating. Stanwyck stood behind the counter, frozen between his register and his rules. Something was slipping from his hands, and he knew it. He looked around at his staff, Linda avoiding eye contact, Enrique openly ignoring him, and saw no help. The door opened again. This time, it was them. Rachel walking in behind the Marines. She wasn't wearing her apron. Her clothes were plain, same faded jeans, same quiet sneakers. But when she stepped into the diner, something shifted. Conversations dipped. Coffee mugs hovered mid-air. One of the Marines spoke for her. "She belongs here more than any of us." Rachel didn't look at Stanwyck. Didn't look at anyone, really. She just walked past the counter, hung her coat on the hook where her apron used to be, and stood at the server station. Waiting, Stanwyck's voice cracked the silence like a windshield chip. "She doesn't work here anymore." Another Marine, the one in dress blues, turned. "She does now." The cameras showed up 15 minutes later. Bright lights. Questions. The sound of someone checking a mic against a coat lapel. Stanwyck sweated through his collar. Rachel stood off to the side, arms crossed. "Can we interview the girl?" a reporter asked. She shook her head. "There's nothing to say." But one of the Marines, dark skin, square jaw, ribbons still tight on his chest, spoke up. "You've got it backward," he told the camera. "She's the story, not us." Inside the diner, something kept breathing. Frank finished his bowl and folded his napkin in thirds. Enrique rang the bell above the kitchen. "Pick up, table 6. No one moved. Then Stanwyck did. Not forward, backward. Stepped out from behind the counter. Removed his apron, folded it once, twice. Placed it beside the register. He didn't say goodbye. Just walked past the windows, past Rachel, past the Marines. The door closed behind him with the same tired chime it always made. No one watched him go. Enrique came out from the kitchen, wiped his hands on a towel. Someone needs to run this place. Linda looked around. Everyone else looked at Rachel. She blinked. I don't want to manage it. No one said you had to, Enrique said. Just be here. The diner settled again. The hum of the fridge, the scrape of a chair leg, someone's low laugh from the corner. Rachel took a coffee pot and moved from table to table, poured slowly, listened when people said thank you, nodded when they didn't. By the door, a young man in a business coat watched quietly. Later, he introduced himself. I run logistics, one of Frank's old units. We've got a company. Well, a small one now, but growing. We could use someone like you, admin, or maybe partner. Rachel shook her head. I'm not looking for anything big. He hesitated, then offered a card anyway. In case. She took it, slipped it into her back pocket without a glance. No one's just looking, he said. Not really. Later that week, someone donated new chairs. A veterans group brought in a mini fridge for free milk. The little girl came back with her mom, drew a new heart on a napkin, and Rachel was there for all of it. She didn't make speeches, didn't lead meetings. She just wiped tables, poured coffee, and made sure no one sat alone unless they wanted to. On Friday, the line stretched out the door, not for specials, not for free food, for quiet, for safety, for something like grace. Frank came every day now, sat in his spot, ate slow, sometimes with other vets, sometimes with his daughter, who brought her own family once, and introduced Rachel like an old friend. He didn't eat with people for over a year, she said softly. Until her. Enrique didn't change much, still didn't talk a lot, but every Saturday, without fail, the sign went up. Veterans eat free. No questions. One day, Rachel saw a man standing by the window, unsure. She brought him water. No ID, no small talk, just a place to sit. He nodded, whispered, "Thank you." Rachel leaned in, voice steady, eyes kind. "Always," she said, "always welcome." The room was full, but the silence had changed. Now, it was the kind that means something right is happening. The morning light filtered in through the blinds, striping the diner booths in gold and dust. A quiet rhythm filled the room, forks clinking, the low whir of the ceiling fan, Enrique humming something soft in Spanish as he chopped tomatoes in back. Rachel moved between tables with practiced ease, her sneakers whispering across the tile, coffee pot steady in her hand. The booth by the window was taken. Frank sat with his back straight, his coat folded beside him, hat resting on top. Across from him sat a woman in her 30s, dark curls, kind eyes. Her husband was beside her, their baby asleep in a carrier between them. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. Rachel placed a small plate in front of the child's mother. No order, just toast and jam. "Smells like he used to," the woman said. "Like breakfast back when I was little, before he stopped eating with people." Frank didn't respond, but his hand slid closer to the baby carrier, rested gently near it. The door opened again, bell ringing softly. A man in a long coat entered, hesitant. He looked at the sign taped to the window. Friday lunch, no one eats alone. Inside, no one turned. No one stared. Rachel walked up to him and said simply, "You want a booth or a stool?" He looked down. "I'm not really, I don't need..." She pointed toward the corner. "Window seats warm this time of day." He nodded and followed. A minute later, She placed water in front of him. Another minute, a plate. Still no bill. He didn't ask. Outside, a delivery truck idled. Enrique came out to help, sleeves rolled to the elbow, arms scarred but strong. The vendor started to unload, but paused when he saw the cook's apron. "You the boss now?" Enrique shrugged. "Kitchen's mine. Front belongs to her." He nodded toward the window where Rachel stood, wiping a table, listening as an elderly woman told a long story that wandered through 3 decades and 2 dead husbands. Inside, Stanwyck's office sat empty. The door open, the desk bare. The keys were left weeks ago, on the 3rd Thursday after the video aired. No one spoke about him anymore. Not with bitterness. Just silence. The kind that closed a chapter. The register now sat in Rachel's care, though she barely touched it. Most days, someone else counted. She stayed moving, always something to refill, straighten, notice. A small plaque had appeared near the counter. "You don't know her, but we do." No one admitted to putting it there. One morning, a box arrived with no return address. Inside, fresh uniforms, all sizes, folded with care. A note written in pencil on thick paper. "Not for your staff, for anyone who needs to wear clean clothes to feel human again." Rachel read it once, then placed the shirts on hangers near the restroom. No sign, just there. Fridays became something else. Not charity, not a campaign, just people remembering how to be good. Rachel didn't host events, didn't give interviews, but every time someone hesitated at the door, coat too thin, face too tired, she found them a seat, a plate, and a glass of water before they could protest. "You got a name?" one man asked her once. She wiped her hands, then nodded. "Yeah." He waited. She didn't offer more. He smiled anyway. At night, after close, when the blinds were drawn and the chairs turned, she stayed behind sometimes, wiped the tables slower, watched the street through the slats in the window. One evening, as she swept near Frank's booth, he reached out and tapped the edge of the table twice. She looked up. "Hadn't eaten with anyone since '09, he said. "You broke that." She stood still, broom in hand. "You did that yourself," she said softly. He shook his head. "No. I just came in for water." The silence that followed held more than words. Later, Enrique locked up, keys jangling against his palm. "You staying?" he asked her. Rachel looked at the booth, at the lights dimming, at the photo someone had tacked near the register. A blurry still of her facing down Stanwyck, shoulders square, face unreadable. "No," she said. "Tomorrow's a long day." He nodded, left the key on the hook for her anyway, and walked out. The final light buzzed off. The door clicked, and for a moment, everything stilled. Then came morning again. Steam from fresh coffee, chairs pulled down, booths wiped clean. Rachel, with a rag in her hand, set a glass of water in front of an old man no one else had seen come in. He looked at her. "Thanks," he said. She smiled. "Always," she replied, and in that moment, nothing needed to change. Because everything already had.